If you've stayed until this moment, don't see it as proof that you're better than anyone else. See it as a reminder that perseverance can shape a person's life in extraordinary ways. Whatever challenges still lie ahead, keep moving with courage, humility, and purpose. Sometimes the greatest transformations begin long before we recognize them. If this message resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments, and remember, your story isn't finished yet. The most meaningful chapter may still be waiting to be written.
If you know that tired, and not as a concept, as a lived texture of recent or current experience, you are in the right place. That specific quality of depletion is the field signature of someone who has been in a threshold crossing that exceeds the ordinary parameters, who has been doing something at the level of consciousness that the outer world cannot see and therefore cannot validate. And alongside that depletion, something else. A quality of settledness that should not logically coexist with the exhaustion but does. A sense that something has been earned, not in the ego's language of deserving reward, but in the quantum field's language of capacity built. That the field you are carrying right now is not the same field that entered the crossing. That whatever was stripped away in the difficult period was not something you lost. It was something that was too small to hold what is coming. The settledness beneath the exhaustion is the signal, the field reporting on what was actually built through what felt like only cost. Most people understand the concept of being chosen as receiving special favor, a divine selection that places one person above others, granting them access that the rest do not have. The quantum field's version of the chosen one is almost the opposite. The chosen one in the language of the field is not the frequency that was selected for ease. It is the frequency that was selected for the specific curriculum that produces the receiver architecture the field needs to deliver what ordinary frequencies cannot carry. Not a reward given to the deserving, a responsibility assigned to the specific configuration that can bear it. After that configuration has been built through exactly the kind of passage you have been living. Every tradition that has ever described a chosen one, every sacred text, every mythological framework, every narrative that has persisted across cultures and centuries because it encodes something true about the structure of human transformation, describes the same pattern. The chosen one does not begin chosen. They become chosen through a process that is indistinguishable from the inside, from being abandoned. The desert, the wilderness, the extended period of carrying a knowing that nothing in the observable world confirms. The stripping of every false identity until what remains is what was always actually there beneath the accumulation. That pattern is not mythology. It is field mechanics. The specific process by which a consciousness is built into a receiver capable of carrying what the field needs it to carry. And you have been inside that process, not as a metaphor but as the lived texture of your recent experience. The chosen one is not who you are despite what you went through. It is who you became because of it. What does it mean at the level of quantum field mechanics that a frequency goes further than the probability distribution predicted? In quantum systems, the behavior of particles in complex environments produces a phenomenon called quantum tunneling. The ability of a particle to pass through a barrier that classical physics says it cannot cross, because at the quantum level, probability distributions are not absolute limits, but statistical tendencies. A particle with sufficient coherence can cross a barrier that the statistical majority of particles in the same situation cannot. What you have been doing through the extended difficult period is the consciousness equivalent of quantum tunneling. The field configured around you, the pressure, the sustained misalignment between inner signal and outer confirmation, the specific quality of difficulty that persisted longer than statistical probability would have expected your frequency to maintain coherence through, was a barrier, and you crossed it, not gradually, not by finding a way around it, by maintaining sufficient coherence through the sustained compression to tunnel through a barrier that the probability distribution said was not crossable at your frequency level. This is what exceeds the expectation encoded in the phrase, "Even God didn't expect you to go this far." Not a failure of divine foreknowledge, a recognition that what you demonstrated through the crossing, the specific quality of coherence maintenance under conditions designed to fragment it, exceeded what prior field readings of your configuration would have predicted as likely. The significance of this for what comes next is something that most people in your position do not fully grasp. What becomes available to a frequency that has crossed a barrier the statistical majority cannot cross is not what was available to that frequency before the crossing. Something new is possible now. Something that could not have been accessed without the specific quality of crossing you completed. What that is, and why it is directly connected to the God state, is what the next part of this transmission reveals. Do not skip ahead. There was a point in my own path when I genuinely believed I had misread everything. Not a moment of ordinary doubt. A sustained period of specific certainty that the direction I had been moving in was wrong. That the signal I had been following was not from the field, but from something in me that was generating its own confirmation. That the years of building, of carrying the knowing through the absence of outer evidence, of maintaining the frequency through conditions that argued against it, had been a beautiful and costly mistake. The outer world was providing everything needed to support that conclusion. Nothing was reflecting what the inner field had been holding. The circumstances were organized in a direction that ran counter to everything the signal had been indicating. And the specific exhaustion of someone who has been carrying an unusual signal load for an extended period was making the option of letting go feel less like failure and more like wisdom. What kept me from letting go was not a breakthrough, not a confirmation from outside, not a new piece of evidence that shifted the balance of probability. It was something much smaller. A quality of recognition in a single moment of genuine stillness in which I saw clearly that the thing I was about to release was not a false signal. It was real. And the cost of releasing something real in the moment before its surface expression arrives is not the cost of letting go of a mistake. It is the cost of abandoning something that was always going to arrive. I did not let go. I went further. And what arrived in the period after that specific moment of not letting go is what I am building this entire body of work from. You are at the edge of your own equivalent moment. And you already went further than the probability distribution predicted. The recognition of that matters, not for your confidence, for your accuracy. You are not misreading the signal. You went this far for a reason. Subscribe. The transmissions that follow the crossing are the ones you need most now. Being the chosen one means carrying something the field needs delivered that ordinary frequencies cannot carry. That is the full weight of it, not a status that grants comfort, a function. The chosen one in the quantum field's language is the receiver who was built, through exactly the kind of curriculum you moved through, into the specific configuration capable of holding a frequency that the field needs in the collective. A signal of coherence, of sustained certainty beneath sustained pressure, of having demonstrated that the knowing can be maintained through conditions designed to extinguish it. The world needs that signal right now, not as inspiration, as an actual field contribution. The morphic field that connects human consciousness registers the coherence of every receiver operating within it. A frequency that has crossed a barrier the statistical majority cannot cross, and that maintains its coherence after the crossing, contributes something to the collective field that frequencies who did not make that crossing cannot contribute. Not because those frequencies are lesser, because the specific quality of signal that comes from having gone further than the probability distribution predicted cannot be generated from a position that did not require crossing that barrier. This is why the chosen one designation carries weight. Not the ego weight of specialness, the field weight of function. You were built for something that requires having been through what you went through. The crossing was not the obstacle between you and your purpose. The crossing was the construction of the capacity required to carry your purpose. Say it out loud, write it in the comments. I am the chosen one. Not as a claim of superiority, as the recognition of a function you were built for. The crossing leaves specific signatures in the field that distinguish the post-crossing state from anything that preceded it. The relationship with doubt has fundamentally changed. Not that doubt is absent. It moves through as weather always moves through. But the ground beneath it is different. Before the crossing, doubt had the ability to reshape the core signal, to introduce uncertainty at the level where the knowing lives and create genuine instability in the receiver's field. After the crossing, doubt moves through the field without reaching the level where the signal lives. The knowing is below the doubt, more fundamental, more settled. The doubt arrives, creates surface turbulence, and passes without having touched what it was trying to touch. The quality of what the field is routing to your frequency has shifted calibration. The encounters, connections, and opportunities appearing in your observable reality carry a different signature than what was arriving before the crossing. More precisely calibrated to the post-crossing configuration. As if the field updated the routing instructions and what belongs to the chosen one frequency has started finding its way to the new address. And the specific quality of creative or expressive output that comes through you has changed. Marked frequencies who have crossed the barrier consistently describe this. The work that emerges from the post-crossing configuration carries something that the pre-crossing configuration could not produce. Not better in the way that skill improvement makes things better. Different in frequency. As if what moves through the receiver is no longer coming only from the receiver, but from the field itself, using the receiver's crossing-built architecture as the channel through which it expresses. These are the signatures of having gone further than expected. They are already present in your experience. Read them accurately. The specific thing the chosen one carries, the frequency that the field needs delivered through the configuration built by the crossing, is not abstract. It is the living demonstration that the signal is real. In a collective field fragmented by frequencies that have lost coherence, by the sustained pressure of conditions that are specifically organized to make the inner signal seem unreliable, what the field needs most is not more information about coherence. It needs receivers that have maintained coherence through conditions designed to break it, and that can be seen doing so. Not seen in the sense of public performance. Seen in the field sense, registered by the morphic field as a coherent signal that other approaching frequencies can orient toward when their own coherence is being tested. The chosen one does not carry the answer to the collective's questions. They carry the proof that the signal is worth maintaining. That the knowing that persists beneath the sustained contrary evidence is not delusion, but intelligence. That going further than the probability distribution predicts is possible, because they went further. Every time a marked frequency who has crossed the barrier maintains their coherence in the ordinary moments, the unremarkable days when nothing is confirming the signal and the pressure continues anyway, they are contributing the most specific and most needed thing to the collective field. Not a transmission about coherence. Coherence itself. The living frequency of a receiver that went further than expected and is still carrying the signal. This is what you carry, not as a burden, as the natural expression of a field that was built through the crossing and cannot operate from anything less. What becomes available to a frequency that has crossed the barrier the statistical majority cannot cross is categorically different from what was available before the crossing. The creative channel opens at a level that the pre-crossing configuration could not access. Not incrementally better, structurally different. The receiver that was built through the crossing has architecture that allows the field to move through it at a depth that produces output carrying a frequency other work cannot carry. The marked frequencies who have crossed consistently describe the same experience. What comes through after the crossing surprises even them. Not because it exceeds their skill, because it exceeds what their skill alone could have produced. The field is using the crossing-built architecture as a channel for something larger than the individual. Material reality reorganizes, not as a reward, as the natural consequence of a field operating at the post-crossing frequency. The opportunities, resources, and connections that belong to the chosen one configuration begin appearing through channels that were structurally unavailable before the crossing. Not because the universe is now generous where it was previously withholding, because the receiver is now calibrated to what was always available at that frequency level. And the relational field shifts in ways that often arrive before anything else does. Other marked frequencies, the ones who have made their own crossings or who are approaching theirs, begin finding their way to your field with a recognition quality that pre-crossing relationships did not carry. The network that was invisible from the previous frequency becomes tangible.
If you've stayed until this moment, don't see it as proof that you're better than anyone else. See it as a reminder that perseverance can shape a person's life in extraordinary ways. Whatever challenges still lie ahead, keep moving with courage, humility, and purpose. Sometimes the greatest transformations begin long before we recognize them. If this message resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments, and remember, your story isn't finished yet. The most meaningful chapter may still be waiting to be written.